What jumps out about their defensive front seven? That is Maryland.
Explosive, athletic. They look great, look the part. You guys are, well coached, and they play hard. They play with intensity, and they're very athletic. So, once again, be a tremendous challenge for us to continue to improve. Times in the game last week we improved, and times in the game last week we did not improve. We all saw that. So it's another opportunity to go out there and get better. I mean, it's Big Ten football that's going to be challenging every week. We know that. We realize that. Last week was challenging, and I was proud of how we worked ourselves out of some things to finish the way that we finished. Talk about one-score games all the time. That one wasn't, So, got to travel and go up there and play an opponent on their field, and a good opponent on their field. I'm sure they're going to be motivated with how that fourth quarter went for them last week, and we will prepare and expect their best.
Coach, that 25-play stretch where you guys had the 19 yards, have you ever been a part of a stretch like that? And how do you keep your composure when it felt probably like a long period of time?
Yeah, it's tough. Ironically enough, the last time I experienced that was 2013 at Maryland. I hadn't been through a two-quarter stretch like that. That was tough. There is a lot that went into it. I can give you a bunch of excuses, but at the end of the day, it's about just executing, and we didn't do that. Every play that we called, and there's an explanation for what went wrong on every play. And whether it was one guy or whether it was a bad call or, somebody got whipped or somebody busted an assignment or whatever it was, you can pinpoint what went wrong on every single play, and so that's our job as coaches. But, it was challenging. We just had so much momentum, and that first drive, we 3-and-outed them, and first drive was an outstanding drive. We actually converted three third downs on that drive. They gave us credit for 2 because we took the penalty, but Luke had got the first down on that. So we converted 3 first downs and then punched it in, when we're in the low red zone. So we were excited to see that. Then we sat there on the sidelines for 30 minutes, and we got more momentum, which was awesome, and crowd was into it and we were feeling it. And then we next time we go out there 30 minutes later was after an explosive play by Jacory. The one thing that saved us in the second quarter is our field position was just as good as it possibly can be, with the punt return and a couple of turnovers and all that. So we had just outstanding field position. Now the problem is offensively we went backwards. But that helped save field position. It didn't give them great field position. Credit to our defense, who I thought played outstanding. Credit to our special teams, which played outstanding and gave us really good field position, but we just sucked. Okay, but it didn't kill the team, because of field position, but typically when you have something like that, it happened 2 times. You have a game-changing play. You usually go out there and attack. Okay, and I called 2 plays to score. And we had Dane running wide open for a touchdown. We had Jacory running wide open for a touchdown. Had a MA at left tackle, and then we had a MA at running back, which caused sacks. And so we were going backwards. It just seemed like everything we were doing was going backwards. And so we get it to I think his third quarter, we get it to a 3rd and 1, and then Justin was our player of the game. He's played amazing, but he got a 15-yard penalty. I mean, that forced 3rd and 16. So just too many long yardage third downs that killed drives for 2 quarters, and it was dire. Both those quarters were going into the wind. It's not the last time that we're going to face wind. It's not the last time we're going to face weather. It's not the last time that we're going to face adversity. It just when that happens, it snowballs. And when it snowballs, you just got to have a spark to get out of it. And Dylan gave us a spark. Right there towards the end of the third quarter. Didn't look like the wind affected that pass. But Jacory, he ad-libbed because the inside receiver didn't clear it the way he was supposed to, and Dylan found him and did, and that changed the whole sideline. It changed the entire sideline, and so and I hadn't been here for the last 10, 12 years or whatever it is, so I really don't care about what it's been like, but you could sense that on the sidelines. But then we made a play, it sparked us, and then we played great the rest of the game, and so kudos to our coaches for not losing their minds. Kudos to our players for just hanging in there, and then obviously our quarterback sparked us, Ja'Cory sparked us, and then we played good the rest of the way and won by 11.
How was Dylan's composure during that period of struggle?
There's a lot on a starting quarterback. Okay, I'm just going to talk about that position, okay, because I think Dylan does an outstanding job at virtually everything when it comes to being a student athlete here. Obviously, starting quarterback, team captain, legacy, all the rest of it. But there's a lot going on, right? He was getting knocked around, bad snaps, missed assignments. You're going into the win for 2 quarters, which ended up biting them in the tail, right? I mean, it was strategic on their part, but it ended up once Emmett scored that touchdown, I was like, game's over, and it was a tight game, but I'm like, game's over. We all knew it was over, and so, you got the pressure of the crowd, you got the pressure of him just wanting to be great, and so there's a lot on his head, and when he's getting the crap knocked out of him, I mean, you're going to get loopy. And he was loopy, and he didn't play the way that he knows that, and we all know that he can play. But I'm just so proud of him for snapping out of it. And, he got hit again, and then the very next play, he threw that pass, so, he needs to continue to handle it professionally, which I know he will. But there's just a lot on that position. And when it starts snowballing like that, and you're the one that's getting the crap knocked out of you, it's tough. Good for him for just hanging in there, making a play, and then getting us the win.
You mentioned the one MA at left tackle, but how did you see Elijah and Gunnar come through that game at their spots?
They just got to keep improving every day, man. I mean, we just made that decision to, go with those guys. There's older people behind them that know more, but those guys are younger and they're the future, So they had a good day out there today, and they just need to put their head down. We got to coach them hard, and I think they're just going to get better every week.
I know the sacks take from the rushing.
They do. So let's talk about running the ball, right? And so, it's hard to call more runs when you're going backwards. Okay, and so for 2 quarters there, we weren't very good at it. We weren't good at anything. Okay, so, but Emmett had 6 yards a carry or whatever it was, almost 100 yards. We only called. I think it was 19 runs, but we only snapped it 52 times. I threw a lot of screens and stuff just because they were pressuring us. If we kept running the ball, you're still running it into pressures. And so my answer was screens and stuff. And, if we get into rhythm, I think that run number is going to take care of itself. Was pleased with Mozee going in there, running hard. And he had a couple good runs. Makai's first run hit for a first down. I'm actually excited where we're at in the run game, and we showed improvement. The flow of the game is why those numbers looked like crap. The sacks are why those numbers looked like crap.
You mentioned Mozee, and it felt like on Saturday there were a lot more of those 2 running back sets, 2 running back looks. I know you in preseason you mentioned you were intrigued about those packages. What do you like about what that look is just giving you guys, and what type of advantages it gives you?
Well, Emmett's playing so good, right? And in a game like that where you only snap it 52 times, I mean, he couldn't wait to just get back out there. He wasn't tired, right? And so I did that, and we had that issue in the Michigan game in Cincinnati because he's just such a good player, and so that just gives me an opportunity to get those 2 guys out there, and so if I feel like he needs a break, then I just call 20 personnel and it gets him out, and so that's how I've been approaching it. But it does balance up the defense. There's, been running 2 back sets for 32 years since I've been doing this, and so I think it's just something different that the defenses don't see very much. So I think it's a great package, and you can be very versatile with what you do with it, especially with a guy like Mozee that can be back there, motion out, we can bump him into the slot. He can do some slot stuff because he's played that position as well.
How's Carter Nelson coming along? What more have you seen from him?
Yeah, it's just the same conversation of just you got to get better every day, bro. And I thought last week was his best week of practice. We wanted to get him in the game. Same conversation. Luke's playing. I thought Heinrich played the fastest that he's played since I've been here, so that was encouraging as well. So those two guys continuing to play, at a high level and elevating their play. So Carter's the young one, and so he's got to focus on himself and what he does at practice to earn reps, and be ready when needed. Made a great play on the scoop and score. That was cool. Like, you didn't do anything, but I mean, what a play by Kahn. I mean, that we all saw that, man. I got attacked by Eckler. I was one of the victims. And so I saw that. I didn't see Carter, so I didn't even know who scored. And I asked who scored, and Sat goes, "It was Carter. Go over there and rip his tail because you did an X factor when you crossed the." I thought that was funny.
Coach, when it comes to the issue of giving up sacks, how much of it do you put on the offensive line versus Dylan and then versus the receivers not getting open?
It's everything. It's everything. That one time, as I pointed the finger at the O-line, it's everything. It's the entire offense. One of the sacks, it was a bad play call. Now we just got kind of beat, right? But I can prevent that in that setting. When Dylan got beat after, we would have scored, and we went backwards. Okay, it was a bad play, bad loss. I shouldn't have called the play I did, which forced 5-man protection. Tackle gets beat, and there's another negative play. So just compounding plays. That's on me. The running back. There's one on him. The receiver's got to continue to get open quickly, and then, Dylan. There a couple. One. I know at least one of them was on Dylan. We had a wide open end cut, and he didn't trigger it. Just got to be in the proper headspace and get rid of the ball. So it's just absolutely everything.
You think more teams are going to try to pressure you?
Oh yeah. Yes, especially this bunch. They got those, the 29 and 9 off the edge, young kids. I've never seen young kids like that with that much explosion. The backers will, they're gonna bring them. They line one of them up at end in passing situations. There's the inside guy, number 10, who I actually know. His grandma was my secretary, ironically enough. Kid was a quarterback in high school. He turned into their best D lineman. Proud of him. He was in the office a lot, but they're gonna pressure, and we got a big challenge ahead of us, and I'm excited about that challenge. Can we improve to the point to where we can protect the quarterback? My job is to protect the quarterback. I got to put him in position to get the ball out. I got to get those guys to protect him.
Did you think you could take advantage of some things with Nyzaiah? And also, how did you see Dane, as a veteran, handle a game where there aren't as many snaps, the ball doesn't end up in his hands?
Well, I'd say this. It was both of those kids' best game. Now, the ball didn't find Dane, okay? If we play another 30 snaps, who knows? I mean, against Akron, the ball didn't find him until the third quarter, and then he had like 3 or 4. So once it finds you, it tends to find you again, and that's what happened with Nyzaiah. I was like, I got to get this kid the ball, man, and so I threw him that screen, and then he caught another one, and then he caught another one, and I was like, this dude's becoming a real player, and so that's why I threw him the screen again, just to, when I sense that on guys, I force play calls to those guys, and I talked to Dylan a lot about this when we missed Nyzaiah in the back of that end zone. Which we ended up having to kick the field goal on that drive. But I'm like, bro, I go, Dylan, who's got the hot hand at this point in the game? Who's got the hot hand? He goes, it's Nyzaiah. I was like, I would have flipped your feet and skipped the read just to get it to him quicker. And so that's my mindset. That's Dylan's mindset. So as guys get hot, which they do, you got to do what you got to do to get them the ball. But Dane blocked his tail off. He played faster and he blocked his tail off. Okay, and I was proud of him with how he did that. He sprung Emmett for that touchdown late third. I mean, he brought the corner with him and got on the safety, and so that's game-winning plays. And he's practiced well out there too, so the ball's going to find him. All right, thank you all.